Okay, hi guys, thanks for joining me. In today's lesson, we're going to be looking at the idea of phrase endings. Now, this is a really overlooked aspect of guitar playing, in my opinion. And how many times have you heard someone, maybe a semi-professional guitar player, play a nice phrase and just don't know where to stop or to end? And that really is the enemy of good phrasing, in my opinion. Lots of people start phrases very well. Lots of people, unfortunately, haven't looked at ways in which to escape this phrase. They've got all the vocabulary while they're inside the phrase, but ending the phrase is somehow difficult. And I suffer from this too. I think everyone has. But again, it's something that kind of we all need reminding of every now and then. So how does this work? Well, we're going to think about the phrase end in three separate ways. The first is the time, so where in the beat does it finish and how long are you going to hold that pitch? Those are really important things. So is it going to be on the downbeat, and is it going to be a long vibrato but it's going to come off at the end of the next bar, or is it going to be a very, very short phrase? There's nothing wrong with that at all. Again, on the upbeat, that works too, but it's very, very it should be very, very clear in your head where you're going to end. At least when you're working on this stuff, when you've worked on it enough, you don't have to think about it so much. But this is a way kind of forward for us to kind of develop this aspect of our playing. So after the time placement, then we're going to be thinking about what pitch we're going to be playing. So this is obviously context dependent, but you can't go far wrong with chord tones, although if you're constantly ending on chord tones, it might sound a bit fatiguing or a bit dull. One thing I find less developed guitar players do is that they always end on the root, let's say, no matter what happens. And that's something that, again, I'm guilty of on occasion. But it's something that is best avoided. You get a bit of root fatigue. You might experiment with just those two parameters in terms of, start a phrase, play for a bar, and then set yourself an end point, which might be beat one, and set yourself a note duration and just sort of work on it mechanically like that. I don't expect that it'll be great music, but the idea is to sort of build in this kind of phrasing network. So I'm just going to try to demonstrate what that means. So I'm going to play a phrase and I'm going to start sort of up here. Turn down. I'm going to play up there. I'm going to try to end the phrase around here. So in that case, I ended the root. I didn't end on a downbeat, but we're going to just end on a downbeat for the exercise, and we're going to start by ending on the third. So starting on the third, ending on the third, playing through a beat, starting on beat one, ending on beat one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I came off, as you heard. Now, you can try this in all kinds of different ways. You can try saying, well, okay, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to I'm going to start in the same place, and then end on the fifth. I'm going to start in the same place, and I'm going to end on the root. That would be working on your notes. But you can also say, well, I'm going to end on the and of two. It's going to sound less stable. So that's going to affect the way in which the pitch comes across. But all of these can be experimented with. The last thing that you might want to think about when you're practicing, and maybe bring this in at a later point, is the note shape. So the note shape can be, like I said, well, we've got short and long, but we've also got bending into that note, or we've also, the way in which you vibrato that note will show the audience that you're intending to do that thing. If I start the phrase and do this, you might think, oh, that sounds awful. So that was too long and too much vibrato. If you go, well, the note came off fine, but the vibrato was a bit more pleasant. It kind of sounded a bit more in control. But maybe if you go, it sounds a bit gross, but you can do that. You can do the sort of fall away thing. And eventually, after practicing, you'll come up with something that kind of works a bit nicer. It might just be sort of bending a little bit sharp on a downbeat. that's a nicer sort of phrase ending. And again, this is all stuff that you can take time practicing. Sorry, one more thing I forgot is the dynamic shape of your playing. If you're going to start the phrase loud and end soft, that can be really effective. But if you start the phrase soft and end loud, that's also very cool. Anyway, sorry, I forgot to mention that. With melodic content of your playing. The last thing I'll say is that one thing with phrase ending is that should give you the clue of how to start the next phrase. Now, this is going to be deliberately vague because there's kind of no real science to it, or there is, but it would be too long to sort of investigate in a single video. But you know, each phrase should end with something of a nugget, not literal nugget, not a sort of literal thing that you're going to have to play again, but a suggestion of what might follow and where it might come in the beat. Obviously, you don't want to start too soon after a phrase ending if that's not appropriate, but that can have its own effects. I'm just saying that the phrase ending isn't the close of the chapter. Don't shut off your brain at that point. And I think that's what I was trying to get at when I said, you know, that you might have someone who's played a really cool, and they get stuck on the root and they're not sure what to do next. By ending the phrase, you help your future self, or by kind of terminating the phrase at a sort of an intended point, you help your future self with the next phrase, because it might sound more natural. That's how we speak. We say a sentence, we stop, then we carry on. Or we stop in the middle of a sentence, like I just did, and then carry on. Or so on and so on. Anyway, I hope that helps, or at least brings into focus an aspect of what you're doing that could be improved. And maybe next time you pick up the guitar, you'll notice that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed that, it would be really helpful. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you enjoyed that, please check out my campaign on Indiegogo. We're over 60% through now, and there are 10 days left. So all the shares and support is really, really appreciated. Thanks again, and see you tomorrow for another lesson.